Hey everyone, Steve here deploying the line. And as you can see, what I got up today is I'm here to talk about the day slate from yesterday. I couldn't make the video yesterday. I was much too busy. So today, for what we have, I let it sit and I'm able to talk about it with a slightly more, I don't know, less emotional or something perspective. But yeah, let's get into it. We'll talk about everything else. There's a few things I want to say before we get into it. One random thing, I got a new chair. It's kind of fun. See my old chair, ripped up by the cat back in the back. Dude, it's my birthday today, which is kind of fun. March 5th. I don't know, just fun little fact about me. My birthday. One other thing is, before we get into it, is I got this email from the other day saying I got into the Worlds 2026 without actually winning a ticket this year. That's due. Dude, apparently they had a rule I didn't know about. If you won your Worlds bracket, which was winning the pod and then making it past the Shadow Round, you automatically got in the next year's event. That's really sweet and really exciting. So I don't have to worry about getting a ticket this year, though maybe I still will just for the fun of it. Last year I got 3 or 4 or something. So that's kind of fun. All right. So we're going to talk about the day slate. We're going to talk about the changes to the very few armies that got changes, the points, and how it will or will not impact the meta. All right. So let's begin. I'm going to do my little spiel at the end this time. I don't feel like talking about this time. So day slate. There is not a lot in the actual rules changes, so not a lot to talk about. So nothing for Sisters, nothing for Custodes, nothing about Mad Mech, nothing Eldar, Guard, Black Templars. What Angels got one. This one is mediumly cool, impactful. This is now the Sanguinary Priest can lead the Blade Guard veterans. And let's pull up his station. All right, so Sanguinary Priest, he's very simple. He's kind of like an apothecary for the Blood Angels. His ability is he gives his unit a 5 funeral pain and +1 AP in melee. And the issue is, until yesterday, this man could lead nothing that mattered. Tactical squad, they're not a melee unit. Turn Guard veteran squad, not a melee unit. The only thing you could do is make their Columnite weapons have AP, which is like if you want a multifaceted unit in Blood Angels, it's kind of an idea I've thought about before, because they have essentially 4 melee attacks in melee. They equivalently have a chain sword with the punches, just with no AP. So essentially gives them a bunch of chain swords, which is okay. Mostly frivolous. That's why most of us Blood Angel players don't do it. Intercessors, not a melee unit. First squad, not a melee unit. Hellblasters, Devastators, Desolation squads, all not melee units. So in reality, this unit could lead one melee unit, which is Assault Intercessors melee ones, which like didn't matter. He cost the exact same price as 5 of them. It wasn't better to double the unit's price just to give him 5 Final Pain and 1 AP. It just didn't make any sense. He didn't have any units to lead. Now he can lead Blade Guard veterans, which is a not great unit, but at least a real unit with some amount of durability. A 30 wound Space Marines with a 4-up interval save. So giving a 5 Field of Pain does that nice little survivability bracket. Also an AP with Power Swords is quite huge, getting into AP3 when it is huge, because in a lot of the specific matters right now, +1 AP in melee doesn't matter, but it is kind of nice. And I can tell you from perspective of a Blood Angels person at Challengers Cup, I was for weeks testing a 6, because I played Blood Angels Light Liberator Assault Group. I was testing a big Sanguinary Guard, what are they called? Blade Guard Veteran Squad. Brick. I had the captain for free stat, more damage, and fight first once per game. And my lieutenant, so they can fall back, shoot and charge all times, and lethal hits, and more damage, because he also has a power fist, a bunch of attacks. Medium amount attacks. So I've already tried this unit and it's quite good in lag Liberator Assault Group. But since Liberator Assault Group has the ability to fall back, shoot and charge already, the Lieutenant's not that important. You just wanted someone to double lead. And in reality, Lieutenant was there for damage because he gave him lethal hits too. Not really the fallback, shoot and charge ability. But now you can put it there. Lag has a lot of rules to support this playstyle. They have the Lance and or lethal strat. They have advanced charge. They have fallback, shoot and charge. They have the baseline damage of lag, +1 attack, +2 strength. Strength 7's a lot better than strength 5, say the least. That's for instance why it's not nearly as good in Rage Curse Onslaught. The attachability on the charge is mostly worse. A lot of the strats don't interact with them. Mostly you're just there for +1 strength and AP, which you don't really need the AP for power swords, even though it's kind of cute. I'd rather have the lance, to say the least. And then you don't have fallback shoot charge, which really you need that type of rule in a unit that kind of wants to hang out and fight people because they're going to get bogged down by a bunch of idiots. This is quite awesome. I think, well, the issue actually is we're still going to be, and I'm going to bury the lead, the meta's not going to change really. We're still going to be in double, maybe in triple Catan meta. And you are not like legally allowed to play a strength, a low, medium strength damage to melee unit in the current meta because GW honestly screwed up, and then they screwed up and then did not change it. That's kind of sad. Though, in a more casual sense, in a more take it all comer sense, are in teams like your Blind Angels and you expect to never play Catan, this is a very good choice. So it's quite exciting, even though the meta is still depressing. All right, so that's cool. I quite like this. All right, Chaos Knights, nothing. Chaos Space Marines, nothing. Dark Angels, nothing. Death Guard, nothing. Drukhari, nothing. Emperor's Children, nothing. GSC, nothing. Grey Knights, nothing. Imperial Agents, nothing. Knights, nothing. Votann, nothing. Necron's got a both minor and not minor change at the same time. This is coming from a person who is both not a Necron player, but also took the army to a super major 2 weeks ago. So I have a very good perspective of both, of the outside and the inside perspective. This change of the Silent King's auras do not affect the monsters anymore, which are the Catans, is not very important, though it is not nothing, as some people like to say. Yeah, like I said, some people are just saying it doesn't matter. You're just going to play the exact same Star Shatter build. There's going to be no difference. I disagree. I personally don't think Star Shatter is the best. Awakened was debatably better before, and it didn't receive any nerfs. But at the same time, it really does not matter in the grand scheme. Because in the grand scheme, a lot of times, hey, look at Deceiver, this guy. I got them on my table right now. These guys, the Catans, they deployed on the line, behind a wall, but on the line, and you advance them forward, or they were in reserves. After turn 1, they were rarely, if ever, in any auras. And to skip over, but there was one change to I'll get to this one later, but I need to find Nekusar, because Nekusar changed too. It's not really loading, but Nekusar's aura of sustained hits does not work in Catans anymore. Let's see if I can pull it up and show you specifically. Look at all these butt hits. Yes, each time friendly unit besides monsters. This one's actually even less important because Nekusar, you wanted to protect him as much as possible. So he rarely, if ever, got in range of your Catans, unless they were literally hiding back and you were like shooting, but that was not really that often. Silent King happened more, but neither of them matter too much. The one that I will say is actually somewhat impactful is Star Shadow nerf, and we're going to get to that as we talk to the factions and stuff. We're going to after we just look at this. But I don't think these auras matter in the grand scheme, because like I said, rarely if ever, like someone who just played a major and scored very highly on the 5 wins I had, it was like 119 and like 420s or something. You were rarely in range of the auras. It is factually a change, and it will matter a little bit. It's not nothing. It's not a fake change, but it doesn't make the army in the grand scheme worse, is the point I'm trying to say. So I don't think, especially you Necron players, like true ones, don't be too pissed about this if you were. And the non-Necron players who think this is going to kill Star Shatter, it's not going to. The only thing that might quote unquote kill Star Shatter or like a GT performance is that, like I said, Awakened was debatably better and essentially received no nerfs. So yeah. Same thing with Bishian's Phalanx. Obviously, a lot of time people like to have Bishian's Phalanx for the crits on 5's Catan, but you still have the gameplay of crits on 5 Silent King with sustain and one of his guns having lethal. Crits on 5, reroll all hits, lethal sustained Scorps. Those are still amazing things. And the Silent King does niche good stuff, like he becomes OC 17 at Passion, which is very good. Very good for one of the biggest weaknesses of Necrons is potentially having low OC if you're not specifically playing Warriors. All right, so that is really the only big change from this whole Dataslate. Orks nothing, Space Marines nothing, Space Wolves nothing, Tau nothing, T-Suns nothing, Tyranids nothing, World Eaters nothing. And all right, so there you go. Nothing besides one fine Blood Omen change and one okay Necrons nerf. This is kind of a symptom if you're going to see the rest of the data slate for supposedly, we don't know, but really the end of the edition, and we might be stuck with this balance. Honestly, dreadful balance for the rest of the edition, which is really bad. And me, like I said, not trying to doomer. I have never quit 40k. I've never left. I've always played 40k through the worst patches since the end of 7th edition. Really, I've always played 40k, even when it sucked. I just do that. And this has been some of the most disheartening meta it's ever been, in my opinion. And the closest I've been like, man, should I just take a break? I'm probably not going to, but like, that's telling something when I didn't even do it in some of the points in 9th edition. Alrighty, so let's get to the rest of the Downs data slate. I'm trying to keep as much Jovial as possible. It's really hard because this, honestly, I'll say it, this is the worst, probably the worst data slate they've released this edition. I honestly thought the last one was worse. I thought the one before this was the worst one because they did not nerf Veterans Guard and then they had to nerf them again 3 weeks later, if you guys forgot. This one wins. Adeptus Custodes, nothing. To be honest, they didn't really need anything. But there could be things that could have been buffed here, especially for maybe the end edition. I know no one's confirmed that. GW won't confirm that. But we are very positive that's probably 11th edition coming this summer. So I know nothing, but there you go. Custodes. Army, I just played ATC. I got best faction. As our best, both best in faction and best general. This is a nerf. This is ironically funny because it is just an undo of the last change, which was making Custodian Guard 10 points cheaper. Now this actually evens them out. Before, I think 5 model units were like half a point cheaper or something. It was really funny. It was kind of weird. Now they're just 40 points per model. Oopsies. I don't mean to do that. So down 10 points. So down 60. And like I said, bury the lead. Draxus and the Inquisitor both went up 15 and 10. So the list went up 85. This is, I think, the hardest nerfed points army, which is like 85 was the most they did. That's really bad. I think this is mostly warranted. There is big issues with Custodes that, yes, this army is technically incredibly overpowered right now in a lot of ways. Obviously, it has a very bad matchup in the best army in the game, so that's kind of not the best thing to be. But there's so much in this book that is unusable trash, and there's one reason we're playing these models. One, because they're incredibly cheap. Now they're less cheap. But two, because everything in this army sucks. This army has no detachments. Shield Host sucks. Obviously, this is one of the worst attachments in the game. The character detachment is unplayable. Line to the Emperor technically is okay, but is one annoying as hell. And also, the only attachment that doesn't have fall action charge. Like, freaking what? Why? That makes the attachment even worse. In addition to being annoying to play, which is having to keep your models outside 6. Like, I'll tell you as, man, big Custodes, man, you don't really want units outside 6 of each other. You need to, because your army does not have a lot of interaction. It just is the data sheet. You don't have, well, in the Towns of the Emperor, you don't have things like reactive moves. Reactive moves, you don't have -1 damage. You don't have fight first. You don't have -1 to hit. You don't have feel no pain. You have no combat interactions, barely any shooting interactions. You just take damage. So Lions not having a lot of rules, the army itself not having a lot of rules, it just led to this stat checky interaction, which was just playing guard and land raiders, which, like I said, I played it and it is fairly terrifying. Pretty much the plan most enemy teammates had was, we're just gonna let Steve play the worst list or the list we care about least, and he's gonna beat the crap out of it because we just can't handle it. Which is true. I think, especially in teams, Custodians is top 3 armies in the game, and it also hard counters some specific armies, things like T-Suns and a lot of versions of Nids, a lot of Demons, stuff like that, which is kind of just a really weird spot to be in. But I wish this army came with rules changes, just anything, and more points increases, because it's like Custodian Guard with 37.5 points before this, which is ridiculous for a unit that's like a Terminator, essentially. That's what Custodians are, and they're supposed to be the best of the best in the game, and they were one of the cheaper ones in the game, which is honestly embarrassing. It is embarrassing they had to be that cheap. Like when I went to Coma, the first of the edition, Custodians were 45 points per model. They got down to almost, we're getting close to 10 points less. It was 8 points less, but still they're 5 points less now, and they haven't done anything with them. It's also depressing that this might, if this is the last balance of the edition, and if we don't go to indexes next edition, which seems unlikely, that we're also going to be stuck with this dreadful codex for 11th edition until we get a new book, which is awful. I can tell you from experience as a Custodian player, that happened in 9th edition. The Custodian's 8th edition book was terrible. It sucked. Custodian had 3 attacks, by the way. It had 3 attacks in 8th edition. And so the only viable models going into 9th edition were Telemons. Technically, Custodian Guard was Shield because they had 3 pinfall save until their codex. They didn't do anything. It's not on point. And like Sagittarius and Venatari. Venatari's with guns specifically. And that was it. Everything army sucked. You had some strats. Psychic Awakening helped that a lot. But playing, already going through the experience of having this army with a really bad codex from the edition before, and you're being stuck with it for X amount of time, sucked. Also, Custodians were like, it took forever for them to get codex in 9th edition. They were like one of the later ones. So that's really sad. I'm very sad about this, not specifically the points because it's debatably deserved. But I'm just talking about Custodes in general. I want to be a perspective of the army in general, not just about this Dataslate is good or bad. Like I said, there's a lot of things that could have been changed. There should have been a lot of things that should have been in here for a lot of armies, but there wasn't. Admech, nothing, whatever. This army is neutral. I don't have a lot of regards for it. I think this army is very overhyped. I think one big issue of this army is one of its best day sheets in the game in its army is the Ruststalker. And the worst profile you can run in the game right now is a strength 5, 2 damage while being a melee weapon, which is the Ruststalker profile. Because that means you die to Catans. You just lose to them. There's nothing you can do about it. It's Silent King, which sucks. That profile is also terrible to Custodes. Obviously, it's anti-infantry, so that helps. But I mean, just in general, like a 5-2-2 profile. This army's fine. It's not, I don't think this army's that fine, but it's like whatever. It's just an army exists. It's okay. Eldar, this is hilarious. I was telling my friends, this is going to happen, boys. You're not going to get buffs. They were so expecting buffs that they did not get, which is a little sad for them. But yeah, Azerman went up 10. This is just, you're still probably going to play him. Nothing, this is fake. Like, I'm sorry, Wraithblades and Wraithlord Guard, if you were playing the Seer Council, not Seer Council, I don't know, Wraith Detachment. Okay, what is it called? Where is it? Spirit Conclave. Spirit Conclave, you're happy because it does help. It went down 2 points per model, but they're just like such anemically terrible day sheets. They figured this out with Admech. They had the robot attachment that just said you gain your army ability. That's a stupid thing you need to do. Obviously, Wraith should just have battle focus. It's stupid they need to be in Spirit Conclave to get it. Obviously, Spirit Conclave has a second part of the attachment, so it's better than the robot attachment was. But it's still like the same idea. It's incredibly stupid. But yeah, so that to me, those Wraith Lords are fine. I've always been a Wraith Lord hater, even when they were popular in Inari. I hated them. I never ran them. I thought they were garbage. That's just me. Might be a little contrarian, but people might bring them back. Azerman went up 10. He's now as expensive as Lycus, which is hilarious. You're gonna play him probably still in that same type of if the aspect host style Fire and Fade build is still the best build. Boom. I have a lot of belief in the Corsair Coterie in the new day sheets. Especially Euro. I think Euro's probably equating points and rules the best character in Eldar now. Obviously, Lycus is probably 1-to-1 the best character. Lycus already 40 more points in Euro, so she should be better 1-to-1. So I think Euro is like top 2 just best characters, like I said, price to rules in the Codex, which is so cool. Obviously, attachment is amazing, and I think the Corsair models like Sky Fangs and Sky Reavers, the jump pack guides are very costly, efficiently, and are very good. So that we'll have to see. They've only been out for like technically just became legal last weekend. Really, obviously, maybe they've been legal for a while. You know, ambiguously like a couple weeks, but like the Barks of shit stuff came out last week, so I go wait to see. I'm looking forward to that. Guard. I see a lot of doomers saying, "Oh my god, why did Rogaldorns get nerfed?" Blah blah blah. The Rogaldorns are overpowered. I hate to tell you guys, it was one of, if not the best tank in the game for a reason. Shot incredibly hard and incredibly durable to Land Raider with more wounds. It's also way skinnier than Land Raider, so you can move her on most boards. They're very good. The issue, people say, why didn't Regard Guard get nerfed? I agree with you. Recon Guard should not exist in the way it is. But the issue, this is coming from maybe a higher up perspective, is no one's playing Recon Guard. No one's playing it. The Nemo guy, like I said, I've never really talked to him personally. He goes by Nemo. I don't know what his real name is. He plays it incredibly well, obviously. He's won many events. He has an incredibly high win rate. He plays it. My friend Tucker played it at this event. I played with Art of War. He played it. And you're being hard pressed to find anyone else playing it. So I can understand them not changing it, though I think they should. It's incredibly toxic and has toxic rules. Guard should never have 3-up save no matter what. That's just a bad design choice. And Guard are, you know, the most cost efficient, like crappy doer unit in the game. 6.5 points for Guardsmen. Incredibly efficient. You know, it doesn't beat the 3-point conscripts from 8th edition and 8-point cultists from 8th edition, but it's up there. They're very good. But I agree with the Dorn nerf. Like I said, every list that wasn't a Recon Guard had 2 or more. And if you can win a list with like 3 or 4, maybe it's too good. And it's not a lot of points. That's it. I don't have anything to say about it. Like Templars, this went up. These guys went down 10. It's fine. Like people are starting to play Bastion, which is kind of cool. I might check it out. I played, speaking of that style, you know, to bring some little fun history, at Challengers Cup 2 years ago when I played the World Leaders 30 Terminators, when this style of list was actually like the meta, which was like a year and a half ago now, like 80 Primaris Crusaders running down the board. Obviously, well before the Codex, they were playing the Index at that time. And I had to play against it. It was very interesting to play against. My whole team was scared of it, so I just took it, and I had to beat the crap out of it. But that was cool. So now that style is back, and it has its own specific attachment, which is kind of cool. So I like to see how it is. I don't think 10 points does literally anything. People usually run between 40 and 60. So whatever. And Space Marines got some points nerfed, so it's probably even out in the end. I know it's a little itchy, but it's kind of cool to see. Blood Angels, Astorath goes on 10. I'm going to keep saying it. I think Astorath is underused. I want to talk about Astorath right now because I love this guy. Astorath. I think this guy is incredibly underutilized. I don't know why everyone hates him so much. It like aghast me. Because back to Challengers Cup, like I said, when I was going to bring the Sanguinary, the Blade Guard veterans brick, I wanted like another brick. I had 1/6 man. And I'm like, I want something to be able to go punch up really hard or defend really hard. So I'm like, I want one more big squad because, you know, everything else was MSU. I was playing the Blade Guard veterans for a while. I was like, this is really good. It's fine. Last minute, I just YOLO switched to Astorath with 10 Death Company. Because the idea was I was doing a lot of fight firsters. I had the dumb Sanguinary. The 6-man had fight first. And this gave me another combat interaction piece. Because then I had the 6-man Blade Guard veteran on fight first instead. I was like, okay, this has a 4 or 5 death, which is, you know, not fight first, but in similar. It means you get to interact when your opponent fights you, and they're really scared of charging it. And then I was able to take the fight first on my 6-man Sanguinary Guard, so more anti-melee stuff. So I was like, cool. But Astorath, why he's awesome. He has a 2-up save, so he has 1 better save than like a chaplain. He has 1 more wound. And obviously, he's the normal style line Space Marine. He's legit 5, which chaplains are. He has an incredibly good melee weapon. This is another thing people are like, this melee weapon's mid. It's not mid, especially if you play in lag. 6 attacks. So imagine it's lag. So 7 attacks at 9, 3, 2 dev wounds precision baseline. That is way better than a chaplain. A captain, you lose 1 strength and you gain +1 attack, +1 AP, dev wounds, and precision baseline. Like, here's the Death Company captain. He has, and we'll say lag, 6 attacks at 10, 2, 2. So you lose 1 strength and you gain dev wounds, precision, +1 attack, +1 AP. This is a much better weapon than the freaking captain power fist. And it just is. In addition, his leadership abilities are very good. 4 5 on death, very good. And then dev wounds always, which is very good. Charge wound. When they charge wounds, they get dev. The dev wounds is very handy in a specific metas, like you're scared of super tanky units. You're just gonna get a lot of random dev wounds. You're just gonna get like 5 to 8 every time you fought with all Death Company or more. And then also that interacts well with lag, where you have Lance, you bring a big squad, you want to lance your big squad anyways, so the chaplain potentially +1 to wound is relatively frivolous compared to this guy, who he's only 10 more points more now. The only thing this guy has, he has sustained hits and then 2 really fake abilities. One ability is he is a Death Company unit. That doesn't matter. Okay, whatever. The other one is he explodes when he dies. So instead of having sustained, you get 5 death, 4 up, dev wounds, and a better melee weapon. And then once he's solo, like his unit dies, he kind of is a menace running around. Like say he has a 2-up save, he has a really good melee weapon, he goes punches someone. Like I said, innately having precision are really good, so he doesn't randomly kill characters. I quite love this guy. Like I said, this also interacts well with Sanguinary Guard change or Sanguinary Priest change. It's really cool. So I'm looking forward to maybe trying out lag again. I can't in good faith play at a tournament because awful meta. But in teams, maybe if I feel like playing Blood Angels, maybe try out lag. He's also like very good in Rage Curse Onslaught. Obviously, Rage Curse Onslaught has a fight or a generic fight on death. That's fine. It's nice to have just, you know, F4 up baseline too, and then you find out something else. But then he and his unit, obviously with dev wounds, very good with reroll ones to wound. Then they can do like be another tank squad. Like I said, he has a lot more interest maybe than just the random 5-man with the chaplain people are taking. Just something to point out. Someone who's actively played this person at a giant event without just innately hating on him, without trying him. I think he's quite good. All right, there's that. Oopsies. Yes, Demons. Nerfs that should happen. Kairos went up 10. Lord Changes went up 15. Pablo's Master went up 15. So the Scintillating Legion list went up either 55. What is that? 15, 30, 45, 55 plus 15 is 70 or 70 or 15 points. That's fine. It's good. The army was in a lot of ways overpowered. It's slightly lower powered now because it is hard countered by things, 2 of the meta menaces, which were Custodian Landry Talons, due to them having the 5 Feel No Pain base, not baseline, but easily you just need to be an extra sister. Or the 4 Feel No Pain with the strat. And that army struggles to kill Landry in the first place, let alone one with the 4 Feel No Pain. That's really bad. The army did not like get any worse. That was just that. And they also struggle into Catan spam. Like they can kill a Catan or 2, just not like a lot of them. Or a lot of them backed up by like -1 damage Silent Kings with his 5 of Feel No Pain. From Amitar or like Wraiths and stuff. So they weren't like predetermined amazing into the best army in the game and one of the bullies, but they're just generically good. Otherwise, I think this is a fine nerf. That's it. Not much to say about it. It's just some points changes. Will it kill the army? Maybe. Will they have to play maybe a less greedy version? Maybe no Battle Core, maybe only 2 Lord changes? Maybe. Maybe they just eat the lack of a Screamer. Those are all options because, you know, it's you're up 70 points. You're losing one of those units. Maybe this dub, they just cut the dumb Plague Bearers, some of them running. Plague Bearers are like over 100 points, so easy change, like 110 points. There you go. Lots of options. I think this is fine. In some ways, Chaos Knight's nothing. Whatever. This army sucks. Sorry, Chaos Knight's player army does suck. Chaos Space Marines, somewhat of a travesty. His army is actually, his army got a giant nerf. We'll get to that. This army sucks. This army's unplayable. I'm sorry, it just is. There's a reason. This was actually my longest main of this edition. It's one of my favorite armies. Just the last like year and a half, they've just been not playable at a high level. They don't. You wanna know a truth of Chaos Space Marines? So Marines got +1 to wound oath added a year and some amount of months ago, 3 months ago, last Christmas, because they couldn't kill anything. Their tanks aren't good. So GW thought like, all right, we'll give you +1 to wound oath. This shit sucks. Chaos Space Marines have the same tanks. They just do. They don't have oath or +1 to wound oath to make up for it. So they're just running around with the same garbage ass predators and vindicators and stuff. I know vindicators have been played this last year, but they were not played before last summer because they were too much a casino cannon. Oh, when they can wound anything in the game on 2s, that's a lot more interesting. But when they can't in this army, it's a lot less. Obviously, you have ways to get around it. Like you can play Pac-Man Zealots and just do Omega damage anyways. Pac-Man Zealots is the hardest hitting shooting army if you're playing on an open board, which is kind of fun. But in general, this army also has like 10 detachments and 2 of which are playable. It's just like in the current meta, there's only I've seen this before Hearns officially comes out. You know, it's out now, but it was just things like technically Renegade Raiders and Bile. And then you could very nichely play Pac-Man Zealots, especially right now, because Pac-Man Zealots can't kill Catans. Tell you from experience. That was it. You're like 10 attachments and 2.5 were actually playable. You know, people like Liam love veterans, and I can get behind it. You really want that oath the moment if you need it. And the reactive moves are very good. But we're talking about like a take it all cover sense. And you know, like I said, he's very good and he likes attachment. So there's nothing to say about it. But a lot of the stuff in this army is just awful. It's just terrible. Avalon is garbage. He's just bad. He does not do anything for 270 points. We're going to take Pac-Man Zealots out of the equation right now. We're going to take Pac-Man Zealots out of the equation. Obviously, he's imperative in that attachment. But as a general model, he's 270 points. He is just a normal captain with double the amount of wounds. So he's just 2 captains glued together. His melee weapon is decently good, but not amazing. And all he has is reroll hits and an aura. That's it. Kind of sucks. Curse cultists are almost 300 points nowadays, which is crazy. Terminators are awful. They've always been some of the worst terminators in the game. Herms Marauders, with all the things they make to them, actually makes them playable. A lot of these things I'm saying is like kind of caveated by Herms Marauders, kind of solves a lot of the issues with the army. Besides the fundamental problem of this army just hits you with power fists. And if you're not in a meta where power fists are good, you just lose, which we're definitely in a meta where power fists do not kill you. So like this army is unplayable except for Pac-Man Zealots. I keep saying except for Pac-Man. Expect everything I'm saying instead, except for Pac-Man Zealots. Cannot play into things like Catans or any Necron build, period. There's just so much badness with the army. There's just not a lot of good in the army. It used to be, but it is one of the symptoms of this army got Omega power crept and nothing kept up with it, which is kind of sad. I think more of a sad part is Vasher is cheaper than Winged Imprint of the Wings. This guy sucks so much. Crap. All right, so that's it. I'm a little doomer take, but on the more positive end is Hardened Marauder is amazing attachment. So good. I've played many games with it now. It solves like a lot of issues. I'm going to be playing Hardened Marauders, I think, at a team event in April. We'll see if there's any changes, or I'm forced to continue playing Custodes if we don't have somebody who can take up that mantle. But I'm quite excited about painting them. Like, here's Cypher. Here's my little lizard from the Masters of the Maelstrom. I already painted up the lady and the wizard and the axe guy and Hurin. And I've had these in my box since the army came out. Voice Marines. I've never had a reason to use them, so I'm trying to paint them up. So I'm very excited. Oh, here too. Here's a Fabulous Bile. Like I said, CSM was essentially my longest main of this edition. They just have fallen off and have not come back. But we have hope for Hearn's Marauders. I love that attachment. It's so cool. Speaking of a buff, you know, this is actually a Monkey's Paw buff. They made the most expensive attachment enhancement in the game 60 points, and they also deleted the attachment at the same time. I'm going to get to that. They nerfed the Hellas attachment, which I felt was not very good to begin with. I thought it was incredibly mid, and now it, for all intents and purposes, doesn't exist, which is sad. Dark Angels. No changes. Death Guard. Fundamentally no changes. And they have one of the worst winged demon princes. He just does battle shocks when he charges you. He's got like the mid demon prince melee. It's +1 attack. He's a 7 attacks at 823 with lethal. Doesn't matter. You're never gonna run him over the foot guy. If you're even running one, he doesn't have the lone op. His abilities are kind of frivolous. He sucks. There's not. I don't even. I've already said too much about this guy. Drukhari, hey, my corner of the internet. So I've had some people in my community and some people in the world dooming that Spectacle Spy is going to be deleted for since essentially I did decently good at Worlds with them. I think this now proves that it's not. It's been 2 data slates in a row that people are like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do after the data slate? What are you going to do? I'm like, I hate hypotheticals. I don't know. We'll see after the data slate, but there's no reason to think about it. No reason to use brain power on what will happen until we see what does happen, because this is what happened. Spectacle Spy did not get nerfed. Drukhari did not get nerfed. It didn't deserve to be nerfed because one, it didn't put up the events. Just because a lot of people like potentially like me or other super high echelon players can do good with the attachment, doesn't mean it deserves to be nerfed in any way, because it one is incredibly hard to play. Oh my god, that army is so hard to play. It takes a lot of brain power. These people aren't doing great with it. And two, it just didn't deserve to be nerfed. Even at the highest end, it still had issues. It had pretty bad matchups, and it took a lot of effort to get all what you're doing. It's like the issues of current Eldar, of you need to spend, a lot of brain power, a lot of benefits to get the good out of the army, and you could get the good out of the army, but is it just worth the squeeze? Sometimes no. That's the same thing at Drukhari. A lot of times, is it worth the squeeze? Sometimes. Spectacle Spy, a lot of ways it is. But it does mean you fundamentally usually have to outskill your opponent. All right, so there's my little Spectacle Spy spiel and why it doesn't deserve to be nerfed and why it didn't get nerfed, thankfully. So we got 3 greens in here, 2 of which are meaningless, 1 of which mostly meaningless. Homunculus is awful. Before this change, it was, I'm not counting the planes, probably the worst day sheet in the book. It's awful. He has no durability. He has a 6 of info save, no armor save. His melee weapon is terrible. It's just a D3 damage succubus weapon with 1 AP and 2 less attacks. So that's really bad. So he doesn't do anything. He doesn't really have a leader ability. He has a completely useless ability, which is on the command phase on 4 up, you get a pain token. So, and the Kronos ability is each time you spend a pain token, that's 4 with a 9 out of 4 up, you go back. Oh, wait, Lord. Sorry. Why am I yawning so much? You get 1 back. So Homunculus' ability is just a 1-use version of the Kronos. Why does this guy exist? Why is his ability so bad? Racks. Racks are awful. Racks should be cheaper than witches, not for 13 more points, but now still 3 more points. Their melee weapon, when they use their ability to become hazardous, is essentially a witch weapon. Otherwise, they're 2 freaking attacks, which is just honestly embarrassing. They don't do anything. They do cute little battle shock, but that's it. So they don't do any damage. They're not fast. They're fake durable. They have 2 wounds, and they have a 5 armor save. So they just die to anything. So less efficient into random 2 damage weapons in your army than other things. So they die just as easily. Scourges with scarred carbines. On the surface, 1-to-1 in a vacuum, this data sheet is good. Technically. It has a 6-inch deep strike. That's handy when you need it. It has a +1 AP ability. That's amazing. Its guns are kind of fake, but that's it. So that's really cool. So you forget what army you're in. There's Drukhari. Drukhari doesn't have guns. We don't have guns. You either have AP0 bolters or you have dark lances. That's it. We have 1 weapon in the whole army that's good mid AP, which is the Ravager Disintegrator cannons. That's it. So usually +1 AP weapons, you want to be used on mass low AP shots, things are AP1, AP0, things like that. And you want to combine it with the Norse cover too. 1, you don't have the Norse cover to go with it. And 2, we don't have the mass AP1. It's people have a poison bolter, or you have Hellions. People have 1 gun here or there. You're not just a crap ton of guns. So the ability does not interact well with the army at all. We don't have the pain token economy in any detachment to just use the 6-inch deep strike, so it's kind of fake. And they're a 1-and-done unit because they come down and instantly die. They use their ability and die. They're just a 4-up. They're just a freaking 4-up save cultist, 4-up save, and T3. So they die to anything. So a lot of these abilities are good. We'll take the Emulator and the Castigator from Sisters. The Castigator has the exact same ability, except it's on a giant tank and has way longer range. So that ability can actually be reused. And the Immolator, same thing's on a big tank to ignore cover. That ability can be reused. That's why they're really good in those instances. Then even the guard tank, when it is used, it's on a big tank. Sorry. So like, at least he's not like the most expensive shitty unit in the game, in the army now, which is nice. He's the same price as Mandrakes, slightly more than Reavers. So it has some ideas you could potentially think about it in. Like if you're really gung-ho about 10-man Cavalites and Cartel, I know some people are, he's probably helpful. You could probably replace a Mandrake squad with one of these. That's probably not the worst thing in the world. But are they gonna knock anyone's socks off? No, they're a very C minus tier unit. There you go. None of these changes matter. Chart, like I said, and so even if it does matter, it's 5 points. Like no, pretty much almost no Drukhari lists were like getting wrecked because their list was in an awkward 5 to 10 bracket. That's just a very easy thing to solve with this army. So there you go. Another change that might be green, but might as well be blank. Emperor's Children. Some amount of green here. Kind of cute. Tormentors went down 10 for the 10-man. That doesn't matter. The day sheet's terrible. They're just bolter marines with infiltrate and sticky, which is cool. And they don't do any damage because they have bolters and they get a melting gun and a plasma gun per 5. So if you go up 10, you get 2 more of those, but whatever. They just have bolters. They don't do anything. They just sticky. So you have maybe one squad a sticky a point, maybe 2 if you want to sticky 2 points on turn 1. Spread it. Flawless Blades going down 10 to 20. This would matter if the meta did not say Catans. So you're just not allowed to bring, damage to melee units. You're just not. You won't continue to bring them. Oh, okay. I'm not even tired. I don't know why I'm yawning. Maybe I'm secretly tired. Maybe I'm just always perpetually tired. Who knows? It's nice they went down 20. These guys have gone down 40 points since the Codex, which is hilarious. Maybe 60 points. It's 40 or 60. And have gained 25% more attacks. Poor unit. They need to change them to go on rhinos because they're not big. That would be a fundamental change that would probably fix the unit in a lot of ways because you can't transport them. They're also slower than Possessed. They're ironically the slowest Possessed model in the game because World Eater Possessed, besides like Elite Possessed, move 10. Normal Possessed move 9. These guys move 8. So like, why this Unleash guy's the slowest? It's kind of crazy. So 33.3% points per model though is fundamentally not expensive. I don't think at the point they're cheap because they are still 3 up save, 5 up invul save. They're not a unit you could just try and stat check someone, like put 18 Flawless Blades on the line. They're not there. They're essentially they are the exact same durability as a Possessed, which are 24 points, and they're unplayable. They're not unplayable. This is an exaggeration. They're not great. Some people like using them in Urns and Marauders or Bile. But they're not a great data sheet to say the least. The Flawless Blades have the benefit of the anti-infantry, the anti-everything 3-up ability. So like they run around with their 24 attacks, wounding on 3s. And you got 2s. Probably 3 rolls. What the heck? Which is kind of cute. But yeah, I've played against these, especially in the new tangent. They kind of just suck. So we're probably at the point, or very close to the point, you just run them because they're mediumly cheap and you run them in person, hoping to kill something and die, like a stat check type unit. I don't know if we're there yet, but it's an option. Terminators. Holy crap. These are the cheapest Terminators. Terminators have been this edition because they are the worst Terminators in the game for just no reason. I don't know why. To start off, why they suck. They're the Chaos-based Marine Terminators loadout in models. And those are awful Terminators because one, they have a terrible loadout. You're forced to take 1 Twin Lightning Claw. You're forced to take 1 Chain Fist and 3 Power Fist. So you don't have any of the option of whatever unit you want. They have bad weapons. They're not fast in any way, and they don't really have shooting. They just have Storm Bolters and one guy gets a rebrought cannon. But while Chaos Terminators, like I said, which still suck, have packs and reroll hits because they get reroll hits from their packed ability. These guys have no day shoot ability, so no increase. Their ability is they shoot every gun at 1 target. They get real charges. Real Charges isn't even that good of an ability to begin with. It's like not a great leader ability. There's got a lot of leaders that have it, and you only take them if you're taking them like for their damage or a different leader ability. So take the Custodian Blade Champion was taken. It's taken for advanced charge, but also reroll charges too. But that's their whole building. That's terrible. But at the same time, they're 29 points for, you know, a Terminator that moves 6 instead of 5. Ironically, World Eater ones move faster. They've taken that niche for the Emperor's Children. And that's it. You know, to stay on a point, that's, you know, that's a real idea is that Emperor's Children are not good at primary due to being so expensive and so incredibly fragile and not having shooting. They're not great as a primary army. So this can just help just having some guys AFK on a point. Maybe. But yeah. So Blight Lords, another funny fact, Blight Lords were the cheapest Terminator in the game. The index version of the Blight Lords, because they were terrible. They were the worst piece of crap ever. They were like 3 attacks at like 5-2-1, like holy crap. And then their ability was reroll ones to wound, which is what the leader ability Lord of Variance was, except he was reroll all wounds. They're so bad. They eventually got down to 31 points. People were starting to play them just for stat line. These are now cheaper than those guys were. They were actually the same price last patch before they just got decreased. Again, eventually they're going to be 20 points. Just give them a rule. Just give them a data sheet. Crazy. I think what they should do is, since they're locked to 5-mans, they should be able to take any of the CSM weapons. Like, they should not be able to only take 1 Lightning Claw. They should be able to take 5 Lightning Claws, or 5 Chain Fists, or 5 Power Fists. Something like that. That would be an interesting project for them. But yeah, I've talked a lot about this and fundamentally kind of useless change. None of this stuff really matters. The only one that actually might see play are probably the Flawless Blades. When in 11th edition, when Catan potentially go away. G-Circle to nothing. Hilarious. Grey Knights. Mostly a nothing burger change. It's kind of funny. The Brotherhood Terminator and the Custodian Guard have switched points. Because before the Custodian Guard were 37.5 points and Brotherhood Terminators were 40 points. Now it's the opposite, which is kind of funny. The issue with this unit sucks. It sucks so much. It's a normal Terminator, which are not good in 40k. And it trades its Strength 8 Power Fist for a Strength 6 Power 4 sword with +1 attack. That is probably slightly better, but I would say on average mostly a side grade. And that's it. They get +1 AP on the charge, which can be helpful or not to be. So like what that unit says is, I'm cool at killing Space Marines and like T3 Sisters and Grey Knights. The only thing they're army good at is killing like shitty infantry models. So I don't really need help with doing that. And they're like now cheap enough to just maybe run around. Similar to Custodes, but Custodes were not taking their models on the ground. So they need to be playing like a Land Raider list, which could work. But this stage sheet, the issue also is you could do a really ghetto version of the Custodes build, but Custodes also killed killed the hell out of you after they got there. 5 attacks at 722, reroll 1 to wound with sustained hits, potentially reroll all wounds, versus 4 attacks at 622 or 632 with no keywords, no nothing. Pretty big difference there. Plus, you know, they have some amount of shooting. They have the Storm Bolters plus a couple special weapons. Starting guard shooting is substantially better. Unless you're trying to kill like cultists. So there's also a benefit. They have the niche of like Custodes. They're incredibly high OC. They get up to OC 30 and they can do the rest, which is kind of cute. I'm not going to say it's not. They will not be played, but I will say I will doubt it. That is all I will say. Real Agents, no change except for this. We already talked about this. Wizard 1 of 10, Drex 1 of 15 for Custodians. We can talk about this now. So the Custodian idea has 3 points to go now. Is the army went down to 85 points. So first, you cut Draxus and you get some more sister models. That's an idea. One I agree with, because Draxus is incredibly expensive. Versus a lady who shoots good, but not impressive, and she's really good at shooting things your army's already good at killing. Number 2, cut the Inquisitor and cut a sister squad and like make one sister squad a 5-man. That is a good. I think that's an interesting idea. I think the Inquisitor is the lowest hanging fruit of the army. I don't think it's very impressive. I played a whole weekend with it. He's fine. He's a lot cooler if you play the Lines of the Emperor, because it gives him +1 to wound. Then he actually hurts people quite well. but he's just there. He definitely feels like a unit is I have like 50 points left over and I'd rather just buy a character than a sister squad. But he didn't feel imperative. But now he's 65 points, he's more expensive. So like this one I can get behind of. I don't know if I really want to lose a whole sister squad is the biggest issue. I really felt like 4 was kind of mandatory after playing the Caldas and only having 3. I felt 4 was quite imperative. So I'll have to see. That is the one I'm most favored though, is this new updated version versus the third one I'm about to say, which is just cutting 2 guard and downgrading a witch seeker to a prosecutor. I don't fundamentally, this one might realistically be the best choice, and some people say it is. So I'll have to try those 2 versions. I don't think I'm going to cut Draxus. That's the third one. I think it's the worst, but it is an option. But I don't really want to cut down these 5 mans to 4 mans. It really cuts into the stat checky aspect of the army. Sure, it's only losing 2 guard, but those 2 guard is like 10% of your guard. It's slightly less because you have 27 models. It's like 8% or something. But it is something. And then it downgrades their shooting and stuff. So I'll have to think. But I'm going to try the Inquisitor one first and get back to you guys. All right, but this is still funny. This lady used to be 75 points. Imperial Knights. Changes that don't matter. Armiger Helverin is pretty bad nowadays. He just shoots a bad gun. His ability is he like slows you. Before it used to be anti-fly 2 up. You're only going to see them in almost certainly just Spirited Arms because you're forced to take them. Otherwise, if anyone's taking Armigers, it's probably still going to be Warglaves. Next, Knight Errant and Gallant. Gallant is based. I've been trying to get Dustin to run 3 Lancers and 2 Gallants for a while. Now they're 10 less points, get another enhancement easy. I'm kind of memeing, but at the same time, no, I think the Gallant's quite amazing in Companions. Obviously, he's not as fast as a Lancer, but he's still incredibly fast. Moves 12. Then he can be like +1 advanced in charge and charge people, stuff like that. He hits. His melee is substantially better than the Lancer into most targets due to having the second profile and +1 attack on those profiles. You know, he has 18 strength 9 AP3 sweeps or 12 hammer sweeps, you know, fist sweeps, which is the same as Lancer spears without Lance. That means a lot. His Daisy ability is kind of niche, but it's Consolidate 6 inches. And if you combine the strat, you get a Consolidate 9, which can help a lot. The Rant just is a bad hybrid Knights. I don't know if anyone's really noticed, but you never want to run hybrid Knights unless it's, you know, someone you have to, like Canis Rex. You just want Knights to do one thing, so you run things like Crusaders, or you run things like Lancers, Gallants, stuff like that. This guy's just a hybrid Knight with a Meltagun. Meltagun's fine, but he doesn't do a lot. There's not much to talk about here. Things about 10, no changes except for this new guy. Peric Stormbrows, 110 points. Holy crap. Brother, what? He's good. Good, but not game breaking or even that impressive. He just hits you with a big hammer. 110 points is more expensive than 5 Duders. He's not better than 5 Duders almost ever. This guy's like an 80 point unit, an 85 to 90 really at most. He kind of just sucks at 110 points. It's kind of sad. Like same thing happened to Burry. I think he released at like 115 points or something, which is kind of crazy. Maybe it was under 10. But still about the same amount of price. They had to bring it down. Burry still kind of sucks. The issue with Burry, he doesn't do anything. He's a lone op. The kind of lone op things. He's supposed to be a fighter, so he's supposed to punch you. He doesn't have any rerolls of any kind, and he's OC1, so he can't hold a point as lone ops like to do. His melee weapon's too awkward to be able to kill anything. It's 5 attacks at D6 plus 1 damage, so he can't realistically one-shot his Space Marine squad unless you get really, really lucky. It's kind of an issue with Burry. Necrons. Oh my god. I'm going to crash out. This shit is insulting. I've been trying to keep like a level head this whole video, but this is honestly stupid. No one said this yet in like anything I've talked about or watched. This model needs to be Legends. I took this army Cherokee, so I'm talking unbiasedly. This model's degenerate. This model is not balanceable. This is his base, by the way. This is his base compared to the Void Dragon, who's also smaller than Nightbringer, by the way. Void Dragon's on 80, Nightbringer's on 90. You can't do anything to this. I've posted videos before, if anyone watches my content, if you guys watch my content, explaining why this model is fundamentally has issues. This is the issue. This is the biggest offender why melee is unbeatable, unplayable, because you cannot fight him He puts himself next to another Catan. He puts himself next to like some Wraiths or some Warriors, and you just cannot fight him because of melee rules of this edition. And he was already the cheapest. He's still sub 300. So all the Catans went up 10, every single one. The fake detachment doesn't matter. Went up 15 more, like whatever. It was not the detachment that was actually that scary. It was stat checky and very annoying. I can tell you that Pantheon, whoa, but it wasn't the one breaking the bank, winning all the events and stuff. It was kind of just the 4-1 king, which is still not a best play to play in because all like the mid-tier players are going to play Pantheon all the time and die. Pantheon's probably dead, not due to Pantheon being bad now. It went up 100 points. I said it, but all the enhancers went up 15. So all Catan, Pantheon went up 25, and he usually ran 4, so 100 points there, or 5, so 125 points there. Is that Awakened Dynasty didn't get nerfed. Awakened Dynasty list was 1 to 2 Catans, Deceiver and Nightbringer usually, or just Deceiver, and Nekusar. So your list went up 30 to 40 points. As Awakened, like I said, Awakened was debatably better than Star Shatter. And Star Shatter got these points nerfed, plus it got the rules nerfed, plus it got a different rules nerf I haven't got over yet, but I'm going to get over. Star Shatter got all the nerfs. Like I said, I don't think the Star Shatter nerfs, besides for maybe the strats, actually matter in the end too much. But Awakened didn't get anything. Awakened actually still has strats that work on Catans. They've done everything possible to curtail most strats working Catans. Awakened still has them. So yeah, Catans went up 10. The average Necron build went up 30 to 40, while things like, Custodes went up 85, Birds went up 75. We'll get to Marines, but Marines went up like 70. And Custodes, Necrons went up 40. And I was assured, fooled myself that I thought this Dataslate would be a nothing burger, which it was. Besides, I would have expected Catan to be deleted from the game, for all intents and purposes, not actually deleted, because usually the trifecta of you win all the tournaments, you have an incredibly high player base, or the highest player base, and you have an incredibly high win rate, and people are bitching nonstop on the internet about you. If you hit all those targets, your army gets deleted. That has happened every time. It's like, there's only been a couple times it's happened, which was been Orks or Mordaka, original Eldar Index, which took a couple times, and Yunari. Those are really the only ones where every single bracket of those hit. And GW took all those armies out back. Not this one though. They did almost nothing, which is sad. Like I said, this index is the worst meta 4K has ever been, but this is a close second in my opinion. This is worse than anything in 9th edition, as someone who played 9th edition a crap ton. Went to every tournament in the world, won many tournaments. This, in my opinion, is the worst. Feels bad the game has ever been, is these Catans. And it makes me sad. Like I said, this is one of the biggest reasons why I just don't even want to play, which it's probably, like I said, realistically not going to happen, but if I'm thinking about that, it's sad. This is just sad. It's not cool. And so instead of 10th edition going out strong like 9th edition is, it's going to go out in a whimper and be known as Catan ruined the game. It's going to be known for the beginning and the end, and none of the good parts in the middle that some people like to talk about. Maybe not me, because I hate 10th edition. I think this edition is terrible. Crap. Terrible in comparison to the modern metas. I'm not even going to count like old editions, because whatever. I'm talking about a modern design philosophy of 40K, which started in 8th edition. This sucks. I hate this edition. It makes me sad. I just want to go back to 9th edition. Like, knowing that if I'm going to keep playing singles events, which I actually prefer singles events to teams events in most instances. I love team events, but I do think it's slightly overhyped. I think team events skew people's perspective on armies. Like, they see a single army, they go, that guy scored 100 points on a team event. The issue is you can't really equate a team's list and a team ideology to a normal 40K, because that guy could have just got easy pairings. We don't know. We can't expect it. Or he just specifically wrote his list to do one thing and always got that pairings. That's what happens to teams. I quite love teams, but that's my opinion of it. Knowing that I would, for the rest of the edition, it's just going to be this. It's going to be this crap for the rest of the edition. And hopefully, you know what? Hopefully I'm wrong. That the issue, I know I'm not wrong, because like I said, Awakened did not get nerfs. It did not get points nerfs. I mean, it got technically a points nerf. It did not get rules nerfs. Like, Star Shatter could technically be dead. Star Shatter Catan. I don't think it is, but I could be wrong. Pantheon of Woe could be dead. I don't think it is. I could be wrong. Awakened functionally did not get nerfed besides for 40 points, usually 30. That's just a fact. No rules changes. Means there isn't a really hypothetical of if this will survive. It will survive and be still incredibly popular and overpowered. So yeah, that is sad. It makes me depressed. Orks, nothing. This is more symptom of this data slate. This army sucks. This army's unplayable. This army's so bad. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't do any damage except for one turn with like 1 or 2 units. It can't do anything, and it's made of paper. It has so many attachments. They're all almost terrible. You have one like good one, decent one, which is Warhorde. You have Greenhide Niche. I think Freebooter's Crew can be quite good, and that's really it. Space Marines. This one is kind of good. Lieutenant with combat weapon, 15 points. This is fine. It might kill the model in a lot of ways. Guess we probably might just play some scouts or something, but this guy has never been nerfed. It's kind of funny. Good change. Whatever. There's still a lot of them probably still gonna play it. Redemptor Dreadnought back to the price where he was unplayable. Like I said, Redemptor Dreadnought was kind of lightning in a bottle at the time while he was playable. Redemptor Dreadnoughts have always been this like nichely durable, blah 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 piece, all edition. But the problem with that unit is their durability never mattered because it was the only model in the army that had any like durability skew. So people just put like the meltas and last cans of them and they died and their durability didn't do anything. But when Vector Discard came out, you now had this incredibly high durability skew infantry model. So putting the incredibly high durability skew Redemptor with them put you in this very niche interaction that made it work. It wasn't really the points or anything. It was the points to an extent. Don't get me twisted or anything. But it wasn't just because this unit was too cheap. It was just a durability skew aspect is why it was good. Now the 18 Veterans Guard is mostly gone. I would say super gone with their two best leaders have now been deleted. And then people are maybe skewing away from the Redemptors. Redemptors are not good into Catans, for instance. Probably good into Custodes though. And this goes up, it's probably gonna kill it. And this is only really only good one detachment, which is Blades of Ultramar. So like double is not great. Repulsors went up 10 points. They're pretty good. I think this is a very overhyped data sheet, but it's one of the better anti-tanks. It is probably better than running Vindicators because Vindicators need to be within 24. These guys do not. That's a pretty big benefit. Initially transport model. So if you run like a non-Calgar squad, or never mind, if you run any squad really, you can react and move inside of them, which is kind of cool. New Calgar might take 2 spots. I don't know. Warren's Ultra went down 15. I don't know if this unit's quite good anymore. It probably is. For instance, Masters of Maelstrom are now 10 less points, and they actually do things. Warren Ultra don't like have rules. There's a bunch of Blake models that just sit there with the 3 or 4 wounds and 2 OC. It's like, what's up? I don't do anything. Wardens of the Maelstrom, obviously a different army. I'm trying to compare them because they're very similar. Like has a lot of good rules, like resurrect and stuff, free mortals, and does like incredibly high damage, and has way better units they can lead. That's like Wardens Ultramar is just a solo unit. Like they don't have anything that can attach to that matters. But Master Maelstrom can be an agnostic unit because you can't keep them solo if you want an extra unit. But they do love hanging out with things like Legionnaires and Chosen, which is kind of cool. But yeah, there you go, up 15. So like let's say the normal build right now that people were running was 2 of these, 20, 2 of these, 40, 2 of these, 30 more, which is 60. Or 30 more plus the 40, 70 more points of Space Marines. Still more than Necrons. But one thing, I don't want to talk about it, but they deleted Grav Calgar and Kato Sicarius. Kato Sicarius matters less, or his name is Captain Sicarius. The new one's Kato Sicarius. Captain Sicarius and Marnus Calgar with Veterans Guard. Marnus Calgar Veterans Guard is quite huge because his Terminator version is fundamentally a good character. It is good. Don't let other people tell you otherwise. And he's 60 less points. He still has the same rules. He still lets you fall by shoot advance charge all times. And it works when he's solo, which is kind of better. And he gives you CP if you don't have Ghoulman. That's really good. But the extra best part of a Calgar was the 2 extra vectors card that were also cheaper than most vectors card because only 30 points per model. And the cheesy feel no point aspect. And those are both gone. That's a actual big hit. You know, Calgar will still be here. He'll still beat the crap out of people. He'll still probably be leading vectors card. But the cheesy aspect is gone, which is really good. Captain Sagarius lost prevalence after 1 Cato got a points decrease. So it's not just like Captain is like 30 less points than Cato. And that you aren't playing 18 vectors card anymore for most people. So you didn't really need a third leader. He was always like the 3rd best leader in most instances. So like he kind of lost his niche. So overall, if you still play Cato Sagarius, you eat all the points or even less because you're probably not playing Redemptors anymore. But you lost a fundamentally amazing leader, one of the best leaders in the game, for a fundamentally good leader. So fundamentally S tier, best leader in the game, to just a meaninglessly very good chapter master. Probably still the best chapter master in the game. He's definitely better than things like Azrael, Logan Grimnar. Like Dante is fine. He's definitely better than Dante. Stuff like that. So he's just amazing, but he's worse, to say the least. Faisal is nothing. Tau, this one is honestly crazy. One, they got the Twin Lance, which is 160. I'll talk about Twin Lance because I have slightly different opinion on this than most people. I think they're very good, to say the least. I'm going to get that out of the way. I do not think this unit's bad. But Stealth Up Boots went down 10. Tau is a weird one that should not have been buffed, even though it's mostly a minor buff, though they got a unit that is going to be a buff. Tau's one of the better armies in the game right now. They just won the last GW event, which is usually a death kneel. If you like, it doesn't always happen, but usually if you win a GW Open, they kind of just hammer your army in the next day of sleep. So they won that one. They won a major in the same weekend. They technically just won Cherokee. That's with caveats. So they won that major. It was a 3-way tie, also, to be fair. They win. They win countless GTs. Their win rate's always relatively high, especially when you take the bad attachments out. We just leave things like Moncon, Retribution Cavalry in. So they're very, like, fundamentally a good army. And they win events. But then they only got a buff, which is crazy. And then they got a really good day sheet. So Twin Lances. Let's talk about the Twin Lances. Let's pull up their day sheet right now, because I'm not going to say a contrarian, because I think his unit's amazing. Hope I'm correct, because if I'm proven wrong, this will make me sad. I think this day sheet is slightly overhyped. Its points are incredibly low. My opinion was, if this unit is 190 or less points, it will be good. To be fair, it's on the lowest I expected them to be, which is 160. But I do not think if this unit was like 240 points, 250 points, people say it will be amazing. I think that's wrong. So the main point is why I think this unit is just meaningly very good and amazing and not game-breakingly broken is that, in my opinion, it's just mostly a support unit. So first off, I want to talk about its durability. Its durability is quite high on the surface of, T6, 2 up save, 4 up invul save, 8 wounds per model. But the second you lose 8 wounds, you lose so much of your unit's usability and value, is that a lot of its value goes down. So the second you lose half your wounds, you kind of get cucked in a lot of ways. 2, its damage. Its damage is good. Like, we'll get into it. So you have 1 fusion eliminator, 1 ion, 2 burst systems, 2 pulse blasters, and 2 pistols. What is the pulse blaster? That's from the little drones, right? Let's zoom in. So this is what you have. So 1, 1, 2, 2, 2. So you have 8 total weapons. Remember, you lose half of these when 8 wounds die. And then you have some of them melee, which is kind of cute. But 1, it is incredibly low range to get all value. Ion, rapid fire, 18-inch range gun. The Starcher and Burst can 18-inch gun baseline. The Twin Pulse Blaster, just a 10-inch gun, because it's a breacher gun on the little drones. And then the Pulse Pistol, though looks incredibly good, is rapid fire 2 at 12-inch range. So you need to be within 9 to 6 inches to get all the value of this unit, which we'll get to. It's not going to be hard to be that close. We have to be incredibly danger close. You're not just like blasting someone from 40 inches away like a Riptide is. You're getting all the value. 2, all these damage profiles are in stuff Tau has an immense amount of. lots of strength 8 damage 3, lots of incredibly mid strength damage 1 and 2. These are things Tau do not struggle to get. Things they potentially might struggle to get into is long range anti-elite, things like long range plasma, which Riptides have, or incredibly efficient anti-tank. Due to everything being like mid strength, the Riptides help now that they're strength 10, so a lot of tanks are T10. But all they have is like a Skyray and a Hammerhead, which are both okay tanks, but not great tanks. That's really all they have for anti-tank. So it doesn't like help. It's not like a damage niche. But where this unit shines, or the OP aspect comes in, I just want to say when I'm saying this, I think this unit is slightly overhyped because I think people are expecting it to table you while doing all the stupid rules. I think it has stupid rules, but I don't think the damage is that impressive. Like for instance, when I'm playing my Custodes, I'm not really scared if this guy runs at my Land Raider because they're not going to do anything and they're going to die. For instance. So for one, they scout 8, so they go Omega fast. You're probably playing him Monk. You're playing him 2 attached to Monk on Red Cadre. Red Cadre is the +1 strength and AP, depending if you're within 9 or 12. Obviously, I think that buff is like the best buff for them. +1 strength helps a lot of their profiles, and +1 AP helps all their profiles immensely. And then they have Scout 8. That's incredibly good on Monka. So potentially with Monka, before you fire and fade, you can go, what is that? Auto advance 6, so 16, 8, 24 inches. That's pretty fast. This unit would die though. It instantly did unless you're just trying to run sprint. Like say you're playing on Surge Destroy and you're trying to sprint behind your objective all the way there. So first they get, each time a model attacks the closest eligible target, sustained hits 1 and ignores cover. So we're going to talk about that. That's actually the annoying wording of it. It's model. So it means you can cuck yourself. So every model has to shoot the close target. It's not just unit based. So like say you have, let's make a little diagram. You have this guy here, closest, and this guy over here. And they want to shoot a target over here. This guy would not get sustained hits because something's closer over there. For instance, I know it's a really bad diagram. What I'm trying to say so yeah, so they have an annoying version of wording it. So they want to be close together to make sure they don't cuck themselves. But they do give themselves sustained hits and ignores cover. So it makes them fairly for the greater good, marker light, whatever it's called nowadays, guiding agnostic. Because if they have sustained hits with hitting on 2s, on the averages, they get 100% hit rate, and then they ignore cover, so they need the ignore cover version. Obviously, giving this unit, if you really have a unit this unit's good at killing, which is probably close range Space Marines, they quite would like the stealth super rerolls once to hit and wound a lot, but they don't need it. They're mostly guiding agnostic, which is very good for them. Second one, Neo Capacitor Shields. This is just an annoying as hell ability. Start of your opponent's charge phase, pick an enemy within a non-monster vehicle within 12. They take a battleshock test, not a leadership test, and then they get -1 in charge no matter what. So no matter what, you're -1 in charge, and then you might just battleshock yourself. Kind of annoying. Luckily, like I said, it doesn't work on vehicles and monsters, so you can do that to your value, to your benefit. But it could just randomly battleshock your own turn, which is lame. And more importantly, it doesn't require LOS. So you can just find a wall. And then finally, this is really that's overpowered. I think will get changed. It's just at the end of each fight phase, they make either a normal move of 6 or a fallback move. A fallback move is your full distance, so they can fall back up to 10, or they can make a normal move of 6. The issue is, as a lot of people talked about, it's both players' turns. So, like, hypothetically, in that Monka, you can go 24 plus 16 with 30 inches. If you play Red Cadre, you can fire and fade again, which is kind of funny, so go even farther. Because Red Cadre has their own fire and fade strat, which is in the shooting phase, and that's in the fight phase, so they can do it both times. But this unit is so it's going to be, like I said, incredibly supporty. It's going to be running around doing weird objective stuff, annoying you with its charge and dinking down little dudes. But I don't think it's going to be tabling you. I think it's probably, I still think this is probably the best unit in Tau. But I'm not going to compare it to Veterans Guard or Catan that just came out. I think it is a whole league lower than that, but it is still an amazing, ridiculous day sheet in a lot of ways. But yeah, well, that's the point I'm trying to make. So they got that 160 points. You're just going to run it. No questions asked. But like I said, this all came back to me. I don't know why Tau got a buff, even though it might be a meaningless buff in the end. It's still a buff that should not really have happened. It's really weird. Thousand Suns, I got the same nerf as Demons. Whatever. I think the detachment for this army is fine. It's fine. Finally good. Change out to Deceit. Like, it requires, you know, things can mess up, require more effort, but you can do more damage in this attachment than you can do in Scintillating Legion, because you can have access to 4 rolls to hit with your Lord's Changing Kairos combined with, you know, Sus D3, and you have access to plus 2 AP on them, making them hit incredibly hard. So that's something to think about. Tyranids, no changes. Holy crap, this army is so bad. This is probably the worst army in the game. Maybe not, but it's like bottom 3. They got the Tyranid Prime with Lash Whip. I was a defender of this model. I still mediumly am, but the issue is he's freaking 85 points while the Tyranid Prime is 65 points. I'm not even going to talk about the you don't get the Vanguard Invader rule. That doesn't matter. Tyranid Warriors are completely replaced by Raveners in Vanguard, so it's meaningless. They can't. It doesn't work for them in Vanguard. The issue is he's 85 points, while the Tyranid Prime is 65 points. Tyranid Prime is still faster, so he still does that faster movement. And obviously, he has substantially worse melee. It is worse. It's like 6 attacks, 612. It's terrible. This guy is, you know, 6 attacks at 722 with sustained hits, or 4 attacks at 9-2-4-3 sustained hits. It's way harder, and he has an actual day sheet ability, which is your unit blood surges instead of my prime fights on death on a 4-up. So he's way better, but he's not worth 85 points. This guy's also 65 points, and then I could have, you know, potentially thought of him in things like Invasion Fleet, and then you would just play him in the Tyranid Warrior attachment if you were playing Tyranid Warrior attachment, which you probably shouldn't. It's kind of sad. He sucks poo-poo because for some reason 85 points. That's what's like the points thing is like 85 points to this guy, and you increase C'tans by 10. So I want to bring back to the C'tan thing. I said when the C'tan day sheet came out, I said 100 points on all these C'tans or they're going to break the game. The first thing is when they added 10 points or 15 points to all of them, which obviously didn't work. And then they added 10 more points. Spoiler, it's not going to work. These models unironically needed to go up a minimum of 60 points to not just fundamentally ruin the game. And they're going to continue doing that. But that's also like the point changes, like plus 10 points to C'tan, and you make this guy 85 points. It's like, what are you guys doing? Like, what's going on? I don't understand. World Leaders, -5 points. The Forge Fiend's kind of like unplayable right now because it's like the worst model in the world versus C'tan. Because either you play against a Deceiver and it hits on 5s, it probably doesn't for your Orks, it's not close enough and it's damage 2. Or you play against another C'tan, at least hits on 4s. It's just not the meta for it. And 5 points, even if it was the meta for it, it wouldn't do anything. All right, and those are the points. As you can see, not a lot. The most impactful was Custodes at 85. Like, what? To talk about it, my army, Death Guard, when I went to Coma. See, another thing, I was like, you know, when you win events, my army went up 220 points. Death Guard when I went to Coma, which is usually what happens to OP armies when they get nerfed. They kind of go up a crap ton, which is what you should do. So you don't just, they learned this in 9th edition, is you don't nerf armies small or buff and nerf in the same time, because that's what happened to Drukhari, and it became still the best army in the game, and sometimes a little bit better when they nerfed Cabal Drukhari and buffed Coven Drukhari in 9th edition. The same slate. But they hammered, that wasn't on purpose, Mortarian's hammer, and nerfed it by 220 points. And that army is not even close, not even in the same league of what C'tan does to the game. Yes, triple PvC was toxic and broken. It was. And it did just auto beat some matchups that could not handle that anti-loss. That is true. But it did have fundamental problems. That army was dreadful at primary. It could potentially get stat checked, and it had some issues. It was the best army in the game, like, obviously. It was. But it wasn't just be all end all. C'tan technically have issues. They're not amazing at primary, but they're substantially better. But that's the difference, is the C'tan they are winning way more events. Because also, no one was playing Mortarian's Hammer until that week. You know, because the WTC list came out pretty much right when I locked my Tacoma list. And that's obviously like, oh my god, everyone's playing Mortarian's Hammer WTC. But it was not like stomping events before. And stuff like that. So, and it was not popular. So what Death Guard itself was, to be fair. But like I said, Mortarian's Hammer got the biggest end of the nerf by the most. It was the most targeted version of Death Guard nerfs. But Necrons was the highest win rate army in the game. The most tournament win rates in the game. The highest or second highest population army in the game. The most complained about army. Hits every bracket. and they essentially did not touch them. So it's like, I don't understand this. It just, I don't like to say things. I don't know. I'm not going to say dumb things like whatever. But it's just, it's ridiculous. So I just don't understand why they decided not to nerf Catan. And it makes me sad. Yeah, so that's like that's what I'm saying. This data slate. But besides for that, to get back to my main point, is Custodians were the most changed army at 85 points. Otherwise, it was like 60 to 70 on 2 armies, and then 80% of armies didn't get touched, and some armies went down 10 or plus 10. That's it for potentially the last data slate of the edition. Just ignore the edition and let it die. AGW hates 10th edition just as much as I do. All right, let's get to the last couple parts. In a little Chaos Space Marines. Oh my god. Oh my god. We talked about the 25-point reduction on the enhancement, which is super cool. Kind of, until we talk about it in 2 seconds. So Renegade Warband. I'm not talking about the good detachment. This one, ooh, I love you. Oh, you heard Sprotter. You're so good. Everyone's favorite. Renegade Warband. I was always a doubter of Renegade Warband. This detachment was incredibly overhyped. I know a lot of the people, people said that we're overhyping it, have come back and said, yeah, we overhyped it. This detachment's fun. It's just kind of bad. Like I talked about why this detachment's kind of bad is that Space Marines had Oath. Oath is so cool. Reroll hits. They had to add +1 to wound to it because Space Marines couldn't kill anything and they have any good units. So now you replace your actually good army ability with a side grade one. It's not strictly better, because if you play a wide army, say a lot of Drukhari builds, guard, a lot of guard builds, GSE, Orks, stuff like that. Oath is useless. It's a terrible ability. It doesn't do anything. You're going to kill a witch squad 100% easier. That doesn't mean you're going to kill it anyways. Versus having sustained or lethal on your whole army helps a lot more in killing those type of things. Killing things that are wide. So it's not fundamentally a strictly better ability. So I'm not even going to count it as like attachment rule. So what you actually get is Assault Army wide. That's pretty good. It's half of the Renegade Raiders ability. It's fine. And then you have this Twisted Doctrine, which is the most overhyped ability in the game. So it's when you make a move, if you plan to fall back, shoot, and charge, or advance and charge, you can make a battle shock test. And if you take a battle shock test, if you pass or fail, doesn't matter. But if you fail, you're fucking battle shocked, which is insanely important because also it's not after you make the move, so it's before. So if you're trying to fall back, shoot, and charge, you might just battle shock yourself and have to take a test for escape, which is just ridiculous. So let's compare this to Hurons. So this detachment, you get reroll hits against one target and you lose sustained. So your 3s rerolling, which is like a low 90, high 80% hit rate. Hurons army ability is +1 to hit in both phases, which people thought this was mid. And then fallback, shoot, and charge if you could see Huron. Obviously, you could technically pick the fallback, shoot, and charge, but you're always picking +1 to hit, and you're just making sure the unit that needs to fallback, shoot, charge can see Huron. And you keep sustained. So +1 to hit, so you're hitting on 2 sustained hits, is mathematically 100% hit rate. And that's against everyone. And they just nerfed this attachment because now you cannot use Cult of Dark Gods rule. Cult of Dark Gods rule, if you guys do not know, is the ability to take Noise Marines, Berserkers, Plague Marines, and Rubrics, which all of those Berserkers are quite playable to good in this detachment. And we're actually the only thing keeps attaching up, especially Noise Marines, because we'll get to it. Man, you can get, if you shoot your Oath target, you can get +1 to wound. The issue is it says infantry are mounted. So those good tanks from Vindicators and Space Marines that wound people on 2s can't do it in this attachment. It doesn't work on them. And Chaos Space Marines do not have shooting infantry. You have Havocs, which are dreadful. It's a terrible day sheet. Because the issue with Havocs is it's almost the exact same points as a Predator, except a Predator doesn't lose a last cannon every time he takes 2 damage. Predator gets all his last cannons until loses all his wounds, but Havocs don't. And the rule is they hit on 3s, which is what Predators do. Or Noise Marines. And Noise Marines are illegal in this attachment now. So you don't have that ability. So back to why this attachment is not great and why it got wrecked is Your attach ability is a side grade. Vendetta is a side grade to packs. And otherwise your only army ability is you have assault. You have a side grade damage increase, and you have an ability that could just make you lose the game on spot. And then you have a lot of strats that won't do anything. You can spend 1 CP to get packs back. You can get +1 to wound. It's obviously good in melee for your infantry guys, but it doesn't work on shooting. You got a bad fight on death. You have +1 AP in shooting, which is decent. I'm not gonna say that one's bad, but it's still like a lot of things that are Gladys. This is just way worse than Storm of Fire. Storm of Fire gives you ignore cover too, which is very important. You get the worst reactive move ever. Not the worst. It's like the second worst. The worst ones are the ones that are fallback reactive moves. But that's the point. So you can be the back to the main point. And Hearn's Marauder has a lot of things that solve a lot of issues that you have. A lot of mobility is you have advanced shoot and charge. Obviously, this attachment has that with caveats. This one can just do it with no restrictions. And it has auto advance 6, which is huge. That is a very understated ability that a lot of people don't think about, and helps a lot of things like Terminators. Terminators love the attachment. They're low damage, so hitting on, they're a multifaceted unit, so hitting on 2s in both phases helps them both. They're slow, so auto advancing 6 is immense, and potentially having Hearn to lead them, who's 6 baseline, so he indirectly makes them faster. Immense. You have a melee damage increase with +1 attack. And then you have niche things like Blood Surge and Uppy Downy. So attachment does everything you need, but also fundamentally, this is a well-designed attachment. It has damage increases, it has support, and it has, so that's really good what you want for strats. And mainly the attach ability just always works. You just get +1 to hit in both phases, and you can fall back, shoot, and charge when you need to. No hoops, no nothing to think about. So that's very good. And back to Renegade Warbands for last time, is this is the other thing we want to talk about. Weaponized hatreds got changed. That's why it went up 25 points. Issue now is you get, this was just, you had 2 oaths that time. When you killed someone, your oath switched over. Now it is, if you're the person who owns this enhancement can see someone, you can pick a second oath. So before, it didn't have any restrictions. You could use it in Deep Strike. You can use it behind a wall. No, nothing. Now you need visible, which is incredibly bad. This is the same rule that the Iron Hands guy has if you play the Iron Hands attachment. And it's really annoying and bad to use, because then they could just kill you and then you lose your second oath. So the other thing that made attachment kind of good is gone. But overall, this attachment kind of sucks now. It's kind of bad. I don't even know why you'd even use it over the old version, Veterans of the Long War. That's kind of sad. But, you know, I didn't even like this attachment. I didn't want to play it. I'm like, this is kind of boring. You just make me play a bunch of guns. I'm going to stick to Hearn's Marauders. The man's attachment. Okay. A cool guy attachment for enlightened individual who like punching people with power fists. And I like doing that. We already talked about Necrons. He got changed. Leagues of Votann, we already talked about it. Barrack Stormbrow got added. Blah, 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 blah. And one change to Brandfath Oathband. This part's fake. It's just Brandfath Oathband. The strat was if you were in Hostile Takeover, I think it's called, the first doctrine, you could use the strat. They took away that restriction. Now you can use this strat in either doctrines, and it's the one that lets you disembark with your transport. It's fine. Brandfath Oathband was essentially a detachment that was just one strat. It was this strat, and then every other rule was kind of frivolous. So first they like deleted the strat out of the game, and they've walked back like 2 of the nerfs. Now it's just fundamentally fine. It's okay. Kind of sad. I was having a lot of fun with this. Tyranids and Tyranid Prime, whatever. We already know this guy. We already talked about him. This guy sucks. So overall, that is the Dataslate. That's all I'll talk about. This video was kind of long because I like to ramble about things and give you guys introspective on specific targets, topics, and such. Review of this Dataslate's awful. So this is not, you know, the Dataslate that's going to ruin the game. Like, there's been Dataslates that have so much change that just like the first AdMech Dataslate, for instance, stuff like that, have harm to the game potentially. But in my opinion, this is the worst Dataslate of the edition, especially it potentially being the last one. Maybe they'll, you know, do a last minute change to a lot of armies right before the edition comes out. Maybe they will do what they did with Veterans Guard and re-nerf Catan again in 3 weeks as like an emergency nerf, hopefully. But knowing what we know now, this is the worst Dataslate edition, and actually one of the most harmful Dataslate edition, because this is what 10th edition is going to be known for. It's going to be known for Catan and Veterans Guard, and mostly Catan, ruining your game, making you not play things, and stuff like that. So people are going to think about this, and they're going to be thinking about index time when they think of 10th edition. It's going to suck. So yeah, pretty much every melee army in the game has been banned for the rest of the edition, which is cool. It makes me sad. Like I said, even though the Dataslate fundamentally did not have a lot of changes, I'm like, it's just kind of neutral. It's not. It's not. And I'm hoping. I can always admit when I'm wrong. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping Catan get I have Necrons pretty much get relegated only to Awakened Dynasty. A lot of people hop off them, but I doubt that. All right, so that's everything I have to talk about. Let's get the last parts. Please like, comment, share, all that stuff if you like this video. I'm a very busy man. These take a lot of work to do, so it's immensely helpful if you guys can do that. If you need any coaching, hit me up in the Discord. I am free pretty much whenever. The Discord, the link to the Discord is in the description of every video. Just send me a PM through Discord. My name is just my name in Discord, Steve Trimble. And we can talk about anything you need. Do anything you need. I'm an open book when it comes to this stuff. So hit me up if you need that. Other than that, my Cherokee video, or just a battle report video. My Cherokee video will be the next real video. Now that I'm not sick from last week, I'm now back at home. I didn't have this obviously had to come first, so I'm gonna make that, give you guys perspective on a Necron player, a non-Necron player, super major playing Necrons, how it went, all the games and all that jazz. So if you want to look forward to that, look forward to that. Otherwise, what stuff is upcoming, I am part of a Tactical Tortoise 8-man TTS tournament thing, so I can post or make some information about that for you guys. I am playing CSM during that. We have Ethan, who is on my team for this ATC, is playing Drukhari, so I can give some perspective from Ethan. Try and bring him onto the channel. I tried to have him on for the JRQ video, but he wasn't available on Monday, and I really needed to make the video on Monday, so sadly couldn't have him on to make the video with me. But I should have him on to just talk about some stuff, especially since I have to teach him Spectacle Spite. So that should be cool. So look forward to that. So I have that coming up. The next big event is in April, which is another ATC. I am playing with some spicy individuals. Garrett from Objective Secured for one, if you guys know him, does Grey Knight stuff. So that's really cool. So look forward to that. So a lot of stuff coming up. Yeah, I'll try to keep up with it. Try to do it all. All right, that is all my little spiel. Thank you for watching this. I hope you all have a great day, and see you guys later.